Hi all, thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to talk to you about our journey, All Response Media with Domo. But before we do, we just want to kick off and just introduce ourselves. So my name's Raj, I'm the Director of Technology at All Response Media. I'm responsible for the systems team and we deliver digital solutions across the business. My team is made up of 7 people. That's made up of system engineers, cloud engineers, BI, and data engineers. That's a total of 7 people. Sounds more than what it is.
So while Raj has over 25 years experience in development, I don't. I started my journey at All Response Media only 4 years ago as a digital media executive. So I was mainly working at digital marketing. And all I had was some marketing knowledge and a passion for data. So 2 years down the line, I moved into a position of BI developer. And now I'm responsible for Domo integration into the business, mainly for the digital team side.
So you're all here for a reason. And that reason must be because you read our abstract and thought, wow, how did we shorten the time to insights from 2.5 days to 1.5 hours? Well, we're going to show you how we did that. But before we do, we just want to talk to you a bit about what we do as a business and where we're positioned in the marketplace. So, All Response Media, we're a performance media buying and planning agency. We're all about the customer acquisition. And we do that through data insights to optimize campaigns to give the return on investment for our clients. We work across many markets, lots of clients across many industries. So we've got a lot of experience over the past 30 years to deliver that customer acquisition.
So with this big of agency, with so many clients, so many markets, we do face some challenges as an agency. And a couple of challenges that we faced before moving into Domo was all these 4 named on the screen. So obviously the first one, adaptation hurdles. Everyone is afraid of the unknown. And we had this issue with our agency that people didn't really want to adopt a new platform and move from Excel, but we need to make it work. Second, of course, was budget constraints. We had so many goals, limited resources, and a tight budget. How can we make this work and still deliver the best results possible? Third one was volume and number of data sources. As a digital agency, we run across so many different platforms, and we have so many data rows. How can we combine this into one-stop shop that is currently Domo? And the last one, obviously, is data quality. We need to make sure that the data we're providing is accurate, so we needed to figure out what our clients need, want, and what are the current processes that we could potentially recreate in Domo for them. So, you know our challenges, you know a bit about us, and this is our journey with Domo. So it's been 3 years, good 3 years. I was a part of all of them, proud to say. We started with the basics, using the platform mainly for visual perspectives, for BI. Then we started exploring what else can Domo offer, what other functionality we could adopt as an agency to upgrade our offering. So the Domo build began. We managed to complete it in 3 months, migrated all our data sets, built so many API calls, so many data sets, ETLs. And of course, we had to follow up with Domo training. We wanted to take the fear out of a change. And with that was a lot of internal conversations. Domo support team was amazing, coming to our offices, doing the workshops with us, getting people excited was brilliant. And of course, with all this journey, what we noticed is, while we're doing a good job, is it good enough? Are we spending low enough of time for time to insight? Are we using too many credits? So we started optimizing our Snowflake utilization as well to reduce the credits by 500 a month and reduce our time to insight as well. And of course, the journey, what's coming after is we have the basics, what else can we do? So of course, we started looking at new solutions, new projects to work on, and this year we're going even bigger.
Cool, so you've just seen that journey. So now let's talk a bit about what our architecture now looks like with Domo. Lots of platforms, lots of ingest. So we've simplified our architecture by reducing the legacy applications that we use to bring data into our data stack. So what that means from a Domo perspective, we've made the use of all those connectors that you get, the built-in connectors, the low-code connectors, and custom connectors. Lots of learnings there for us. The ETL was very much magic for us. Lots of data, simplification of all the ingestion processes, removing those legacy applications and pushing that all into one magic ETL has really simplified those processes, giving us big gains. And then pushing that into the main area, which is our Snowflake data warehouse. Once we've got that raw data in landing, we've got the different layers, as most people would have if you're using the data warehouses. We just take the power of Snowflake and transform that through the various layers and get that ready to be pushed out to the BI side. And we've got two areas. We've got a proprietary data stack that we've built called Analytics. We've built this over 10 years. So we've got lots of workflows and dashboards going on there, but we've moved over from a digital perspective, all our visualizations for Domo presenting the digital dashboards. So we do a private embed of Domo within Analytics. And that's what our data architecture now is with the Domo.
So our data architecture, does it work for us? And I'm glad to say it does so far. So this are some of our outcomes that we achieved so far. So we have over 25 data platforms connected, over 170 data sets running every single day, 9.5 million rows of data imported daily, over 1 billion rows imported so far, and we have 33 active client dashboards. And no, this is not the typo. We have 170 data sets running in one magic ETL. And if you can see the ETL, this is the snapshot of what the beauty looks like. I'm very proud of this, by the way, so if you can take more pictures, please. As you can imagine, a lot of work went into this. And I'm glad to say it's actually a successful runs around like 98% of the time. So it's pretty good considering how many modifications we're making up here.
Thank you, Laura. And as Laura said, just to go on that, the resilience now within our data stack, that ingest what we do, we've got so much more reliability across the board, allowing a lot more confidence in what we present back in our dashboards. So we split that out into two phases. The first phase, we knew we needed to optimize our data ingestion, was going to be a big challenge for us, bit of a beast to tackle. With that, we went out to market to see who can help us do this. We were getting quotes back from 6 to 9 months to deliver this solution. We were under considerable time pressures, budget constraints. So we looked at this internally, working closely with Domo and our internal resource. So we've actually, from the team that I've told you I take care of, from that team, we've got one data engineer and Laura leading this project. So that's 2 people within this whole complex architecture that we've got. So what does that mean? Bringing that in, from phase 1, we follow through using a majority of Domo to manage the ETL cleaning process of the data. So there's a bit of back and forth with the Domo ETL going into Snowflake, coming back out into an ETL with some metric mappings and dimensions, and then going into Snowflake, a bit more joining of the data. Then it finds itself coming out onto the dashboards using the Domo amplifier with Snowflake to present that data. The key thing here is that we were able to do this fast. We did this in 3 months. Reliability, stability, and we achieved good goals. A very happy business. But we knew we could do better. But just here, we've already gone from the 2.5 days to the 2 hour 40 minutes from a processing perspective. Overall, that means that we can now report in around 3 hours, 3.5 hours, end to end. So what did phase 2 look like? Phase 2, we've just got rid of a lot of the ETL processes within Domo, and we've allowed Snowflake, the power of Snowflake, to do all the ETL side. Again, saving money from the credit consumption. We've got consumption for Snowflake as a plan. We've also got the consumption model with Domo. But we've just made sure that we're using the right tools, the right architecture, the platforms which are fit for purpose for that. Again, we can see there 45 minutes now. So now we're getting to that 1.5 hours in total, end to end from our reporting perspective. Considerable saving for the business, and it means we've got clients now that see what the performance metrics looks like across all of their platforms in one place.
And I can practice SQL now. Okay, so of course we went through a journey. Sometimes it was quick, sometimes it was not, but there are some rollout learnings we would like to share with you and what are the steps to success for us. So of course, adaptation, as mentioned, we had some challenges getting the teams involved, getting the entire agency involved into utilizing Domo as a product. And we couldn't do it without being creative and flexible with our teams. So of course, when it comes to creativity, we wanted to make sure we provide the training that we want, but also the training that's going to get them excited, buzzed, and be like, oh wow, I finally have a platform that has it all. I can't wait to use it. When it comes to flexibility, we needed to make sure not to just give them the basics from our platforms. We wanted to make sure that we have a flexibility of escape those excessive Excel sheets. So we started migrating their own personal data sets into Domo. Do that here, do all the pacing in Domo instead of your Excel. We don't want to see that anymore. Second was connector migration. Initially, we had some challenges with connectors. Of course, it was over 2.5 years ago. They advanced so much. But there were some connectors that we couldn't access at that point. API points were not built out. So we had to make sure that we use Domo support as much as possible to contact them when we need something from them and raise those cases to them so we could make sure that Domo has everything that we need. And of course, we needed some customization. So we built our own custom connectors. We also used the Google Sheets imports. We used the email connectors to get the reports delivered to that. So just making sure that we can utilize everything possible for us in as much creative ways possible as we can. And the last one, of course, was time constraints. Not every single company is going to have 3 months timeline. We did, so we need to make it work. So we did it by the consumption commercial model. Of course, with time constraints comes excessive budgeting, excessive spending, which again, we reduced it by the consumption model, which helps us to connect to our Snowflake environment and make it so much smoother for us.
Excellent. So where are we now, 3 years on? We can see we had no dashboards from a Domo perspective to now fully having sort of the 33 active client dashboards. Adoption rates, as we can see, they're 230%. I mean, that's a massive win for us as a business. We've also been able to aggregate the way we report to the agency board, so senior members of staff, on what our project priorities are, what we're working on. We've also got tickets that are raised from a BAU perspective from our support teams for the business. They're all from different data sources. We've aggregated that all up from these different reporting tools that we use, and we've pushed them into Domo, built a bespoke project management tool. We can see we've got, from the creatives, we've done some Domo brick development for the creative dashboard, so that's bringing in performance metrics, overlaying it with embedded videos, which you can play within the DDX brick that we developed, so that's YouTube private embed within the dashboards there. So yeah, again, we started to explore what else we could do. That's opened up different opportunities for us, something that we're going to focus on more this year. Tag summary report, this is something that really comes into our data analyst. They're always getting asked to create these reports. We now save a lot more time from these requests coming in, allowing the data analyst to spend quite a few hours putting these together and pushing them back out, democratizing the tag summary report, which is essentially, as a media agency, we put trackers on our clients' websites, and that captures all that information. We need to make sure that those tags are capturing all of those conversions correctly and set up correctly. This report, fully automated from the dashboards, now allows users to come in there directly. So some good wins for us there. We're also working on enemy. What is that? I mean, we call the enemy section within our proprietary data stack, Analytics, our competitor analysis section. So with that, we've really, that's the first section within the proprietary data stack that we're migrating to Domo. We had a big speed improvements there, 400%. You're probably wondering, oh, that's a big number. How did we manage to do that? Well, with Domo, what we found that initially we was thinking it's going to be super fast. We'd done the App Studio connected to Snowflake, but it was still quite slow. And what we were finding that the queries weren't hitting Domo. There was a delay of about 10, 15, 20 seconds. We worked closely with Domo, and what we realized is that they were throttling the queries from the dashboards to Snowflake. So there was a lot of back and forth, but what we came down to was they were allowed to take the throttling away and allow us to manage the performance within Snowflake, which then gives us this massive improvement in performance for the dashboard reporting. So we've got around 60 million rows of data that we use across this enemy dashboard, but we can report on that much faster. So that's a big win for us. Pitches, what we used to do is go out for tender, we would do static slides of dashboards and reporting on what we could do potentially. We now use live, we set up a live POC dashboards for some of the key clients or pitches that we do. That impresses our clients, potentially new clients, with the power of that. They give us some access to some of their platform data. We spin up a dashboard, we present that in the pitches. They love it. So that's where we are as a business now. So key takeaways from where we are with the journey of Domo across all response media. What we really want you to recognize from this is how we've worked smarter. So all those manual processes, disparate data sources that are across the business, just bringing that all in, using the power of Domo with those connectors, working smarter with the tech that we now have within all response media and making that work for the business. Saving a lot more on the manual processes. Scale as you grow, we spoke a lot about that, more around sort of fit for purpose. We can scale now with whatever platform ingest we want. We've got more simplified processes, although we've got that spider web. It still allows us to scale much faster with bringing data in across all the different types of connectors, as well as the Snowflake relationship that we have with Domo allows us, again, just to keep moving forwards. Innovation, we've got the App Studio. We're using that quite a lot now across the dashboards that we're using. We're going to migrate some of the previous or earlier dashboards that we've done within Domo across to App Studio as well. Again, that Snowflake relationship, everyone from the talk this morning can see Domo are really working on that integration with the cloud data warehouses like Snowflake. So we're excited already with what we saw this morning. But again, we're in a great place with our modern data stack and where we are. So I think they're the key points. For you guys who are using it, there's a lot of opportunity with Domo, and if you are using Snowflake, but there's other data sources. But for us, it's been a great journey.
Yeah, for my personal note, don't forget to play around with Domo. There's so much I don't know to this day, and I'm assuming a lot of you still don't know some features that exist in Domo that are just brilliant. So just spend some time exploring. It helps.
Excellent. So thank you very much, all.
We'll now take questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions? Raise your hand. We'll give you the mic. Okay.
So Laura, yesterday you and I, we were talking smack on ETL size. I gotta say that ETL is not what I was expecting. I'll give it to you. It's a bit bigger than our largest ETL, so congratulations. And guys, amazing presentation. What led you guys to decide to go with one ETL versus multiple ETLs feeding into Snowflake?
Credit consumption. With over 170 data sets, imagine creating 170 ETLs, running every single morning, 5 days a week. You know, the credit consumption would go over the roof. So we just thought, might as well send it into one data table, democratize all the data as much as we can before it reaches Snowflake, and solve that problem with spending too much money.
But it is a great question, because what Laura also has done is, I mean, that's one big ETL that manages our primary ingest process. We've had some other special requests that's come through from the client teams where they want to see data quicker than sort of the scheduled run that we have with that process. So what Laura has done is used that as the source, but she's now got some other smaller ETLs off the backbone of what we've got as the master. But we can, so we can fast track things as well, but we don't want to increase our support and maintenance. So, but we have got some other ETLs as well, but we just wanted to keep the focus today on that primary. But
well, thank you guys.
I was going to ask, how painful is it to manage that ETL if something needs to be updated or breaks? And then also, for the 33 clients that you're providing analytics for, are those separate like instances of Domo that they're logging into, or are you using Domo everywhere to somehow embed it into their products?
Shall we go back to the ETL slide, if we can? So I can answer in regards to how hard it is to manage. The answer is simple, to be honest. It's not that hard just because the way we build VTL. So as an agency, we know the platforms way too well. So we know that there's going to be standard metrics and dimensions that are going to come in the exact same way every single day. We're not going to change. But there's also custom metrics, custom conversion points that are coming in. So what we did in ETL, you're going to notice we have a lot of tiles. So some of those tiles, just cleaning it up a tiny bit, but majority of the data connectors is going to have one key tile that is unpivoting the data. So in the unpivot, what we did, we only selecting dimensions to come in as columns. All the metrics we are pivoting into metric name and metric value. In that scenario, if you're running a data set next morning, new metric conversion has been added in, it's going to automatically go into unpivot instead of in any of the select from tiles. In that sense, we're not getting any errors or failures in the ETL. We just need to make sure that they all captured into that metric name and metric count columns. And the dimensions, you need to make a physical manual change into the data connector itself to pull them in. So if you do that, we're going to automatically jump into the ETL and add that in there as well. So the maintenance is not really much. Majority of the time, I would go into ETL like once a month now at this point. And with the 33 client dashboards, so we have built out separate dashboards for all of them. So at the moment, we are running from separate ETLs. So once we have the final data set coming from Snowflake, we built many ETLs for each of our clients. In that scenario, we can add additional documentation that we're sending additional data like CRM data into those ETLs, build the dashboards from those ETLs, and we either share that on analytics with our platform, we embed them, or the client teams usually just show the Domo dashboards on the screen when we're presenting the results on the client team meetings.
So for the initial implementation, how big was the developer team?
Sorry, how big was?
How many people how many developers did you have on the team?
So for this phase 1, phase 2, for this implementation, we're talking about just 2 people. So one data engineer, the Snowflake expert, and then Laura sort of managing the Domo side.
Got it. Thanks.
And then not obviously to take away the support that we had from Domo as well. So there was a lot of sort of things that we had to deal with from a connector perspective, as well as the Snowflake side.
Yeah, shout out to Katie.
Yeah.
On the 230% adoption rate, was that end users, dashboard users, or is that more technical users? And then what strategy helped the most with that adoption rate?
Okay, so that increase actually didn't come from technical users. They came from all our digital media teams. So all the people who do reporting day in and day out, that's the percentage increase on them going actually into the platform and utilizing the dashboards that we built for them. I think what helped the most for us, of course, besides all the trainings that we did ourselves and with Domo teams, it was recreating that internal documentation that we have. That was our key selling point to get them into the platform because we noticed how easy it is now when we don't need to anymore pull Excels every morning to do the pacing and see how they're pacing across the ROIs anymore. We just built it for them there, provided all the support needed, and being on a call almost like 24/7 if they need us. And that was the beginning. It was hard, but at this point, we don't need to provide that much support anymore because we got used to the platform. It just takes time.
Sorry, what is the future, I guess, for you and your coworker that are developing your, reports, dashboards, all that sort of stuff or whatever? Like, what is the next thing, I guess, in the...
Okay. So yeah, I'll take that one. So we've got a proprietary data stack at the moment, and that essentially deals with everything non-digital. So it's all of the data performance metrics that we get for TV activity, and that could be from all the sales houses and all the performance metrics we get from them, out of home, offline. All of that comes into a SQL server at the moment, but ingesting that data, and we present that through a web app that Analytics. It's made up of Kendo UI components that is wrapped up through jQuery libraries. So it's quite an old system. And that goes into the .NET stack, the APIs, and that pulls together all the dynamic data sets from Microsoft SQL Server. We're working now to replace all of that because the support, maintenance, security, the libraries that have become out of date, the technical debt that we've accumulated over the 10 years, now to make changes to charts or filters or whatever, it's quite a long time. We're seeing big time to market, speed of getting things out with Domo. We want the same now across our reporting stack on this proprietary data analytics application that we have. That's not an easy thing, but that's going to be our next focus, because as I've already described, it's quite a dynamic data set. What we're doing is we're passing parameters from the application stack down to SQL Server as, say, 10, 15 parameters. They're used to then create stored procedures based on those parameters that they're multiple result sets back. Now, Snowflake, we've got for a area of our data. We want to move from SQL Server to Snowflake, understand how we can have multiple result sets coming back from Snowflake into Domo to then build these dashboards. So we're working closely at the moment with Domo on that plan and how we do the strategy for that to build that out. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Raj. One quick question. So on any of your Domo dashboards, are you using any Domo out-of-the-box forecasting feature? Are you able to forecast anything based on your trends or your data?
So we currently don't do much forecasting. And unfortunately, AI took a step back for us, but we are actually in conversations right now how we can utilize AI in our business and actually build some cool projects that client teams keep requesting in regards of like forecasting and also estimating like what are we going to be looking in the future with our results.
Yeah, and just to add to that, because we use Snowflake, we're in conversations with them as well with Cortex. So there's big changes that have been made with Cortex now, and you've got the predictive models within Snowflake. So there's a likely opportunity that we'll explore that to then feed into the reports into Domo to feed back on the insights and the forecast parts there. We do have a lot of forecast reports that are fed through TV activity with the buying and the planning that happens with our sales houses. So that gets ingested as forecast. But we're looking to take those TV plans, the historic TV plans, and apply that into Snowflake Cortex to then predict what the new plans should look like based on historic activity for said clients.
Hey, thanks. I have another question. I'm from the same team here. So we have like 9 million of records that get ingested from our timesheets from our global consultants. That itself kind of it's spotty for us. The ETL that you're showing, ours is like probably 1/4 of what you are showing, or probably even lesser than that. But we are still struggling to kind of get the efficiency and get it run successfully without any issues. But over there in your example, you guys are doing, even though you have such a robust tool for ETL, which is Snowflake, but you're pushing all the heavy lifting on the Domo side. So are you trying to get efficiency out of it? Or are you doing cost saving? Or is that speed that you're trying to get without any problems?
So I think what we've done on phase 2, we've taken away the heavy lifting from Domo and pushed that into Snowflake. But we still, from a primary bringing the raw data into Snowflake, we have to do that using Domo for all the connectors. So this ETL process here is just the primary ETL process to bring raw data into Snowflake. And now we're doing all of the cleaning through the different layers in Snowflake. So we've got a land area for the warehouse. So that's the raw form. And then we do the first level of cleaning, which is in the, we call it the data layer. And then from the data layer, we start to do aggregations, pushing up into the higher layers. So that for us at the moment is called a warehouse layer. And then we have a BI layer. So that is all within Snowflake.
So this whole thing is on Domo, right? This raw data is on Domo.
So what this ETL, so let's just give you a bit more of a clearer picture here. Okay, so if we look at that ETL that we've just been talking about, that's bringing all of the data as an ingest from all of those different platforms you see on the left-hand side. So in phase 2, we still have that big ETL bringing everything in as an ingest, as our primary ingest from Domo into Snowflake. And then within Snowflake, you saw all those other Domo parts in the phase 1 flow. We've got rid of those from Domo, and we've pushed them all into Snowflake to go through the different transformations from raw all the way to an aggregated layer to then feed the dashboards.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, we could replace that magic ETL, the beast of that, into Snowflake. We could. But why do that when we're only spending 3 credits a day to run it? It is stored in via Amplify in Snowflake, so we're not paying credits for storage. And we can create this process so simple with tiles without additional resourcing and time to recreate all the case when statements, all the joins, all the selects. Domo just creates such a simple process, but anyone could go in and understand. So for example, if I'm away, someone needs to adjust it, anyone could go in and adjust it if we need to from a team. When it comes to Snowflake, you need to have a specific set of skills to be able to code it in. So it just makes it a bit easier for us at the moment to have it in the Magic ETL.
Hi, I was just curious if you learned anything or if you could tell us some things that we could benefit from rolling out dashboards to various clients. And then how do you handle user management setup? Is that automated? And then, I guess lastly, how do you handle, say, clients that want to only expose certain data to certain folks in their company, or if you have that going on?
I can answer the first bit if you want. So with how we manage the access to the data, I mean, Domo has all the PDPs, but we don't use the PDPs at the moment because we've got Analytics that manages all the role-based access control. So they'll log into Analytics with a sign-on. We'll understand then through the role-based configurations that we have within Analytics what filters they have access to. They're the primary filters that sit within the Analytics stack. They will then talk to a configured dashboard that is on a private embed configuration. By passing P filters across from those primary filters down to the Domo dashboards, then filters out the data to only give the access to the data that that client should be seeing. But it's a great question because we've got 33 dashboards, and then you're making the support and maintenance of those are quite low, but that's still quite a lot of dashboards. What we understand, we're having conversations with Domo that they've understood that as a problem, and they are looking to now sort of do more templating from a sort of like a master template, and then that can cascade to inherit that template down to sort of the children's sort of dashboards as well. I think we're looking also at the publish subscriber model as well, so you can have a master dashboard and publish that out, and you can have subscribers to that dashboard, and then you can make tweaks to the subscribers for each instance as well. So we've started off at where we are today, but yes, we're looking to decrease the support and maintenance of dashboards moving forwards, but we know Domo are working on that as well.
Also, just to add on the dashboard point, so what we have at the moment, we have 2 separate different dashboard templates. One of them is very basic, it's very tabular, you have just cards and the tables. And you also have self-serve dashboard where we're utilizing more variables. We're using date comparison tables. It's a bit more advanced. So depending on your client team requests, they choose which template we want to use. And once they choose the template, we actually send them a brief form. And that brief form is very structured. You can't add anything extra to it. You can just select your metrics, your dimensions in it. But we're building the standard kind of face of a dashboard. And then later down the line, once the client reviews it, if he wants something extra, we can accommodate adding some extra features, extra pretty things in a dashboard. But at the end of the day, we have 2 different structures. We're giving a client team option. Do you want basic? Do you want more advanced? Do you want to give more responsibility to the client to explore the data, where like variables would include, or do you want to just present it in the tables? We're not limiting them to just one, we're giving them 2 options. That majority of the time kind of like helps to boost the responses towards utilizing the dashboards in general.
This will be our last question.
Hi, thank you. I'm curious about all the different connectors that you have. So you have 25 connectors, and if I'm not wrong, I read 170 plus data sets that populate your ETL. How are you managing the cost of those connectors? And the part two is how are you managing the scheduling of your ETL, given that 170 data sets have to run before it?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different connectors, as you said. So what we did, we utilizing amplifiers. So we no longer pay for storage of those data sets. The only thing that we pay is actually running them. So depending on the data set, majority of them going to run only once a day. So we may try to schedule that we're not going to run on the weekends, but we do need them. So we still have to pay a price for what we do in Domo. So we're still paying for that. But of course, when it comes to scheduling, because I came from a digital media background, I know approximately when the data maturity hits the spot for the data platform. So for majority of them, it's going to be like 6 a.m. in the morning. So majority of them, we're going to schedule for 6 a.m. in the morning. We know now approximately how long it takes to run them. We only run the last 5 days worth of data. We do no longer run the entirety of the data set, only the last 5 days. So we know how long it takes. For more complex data connectors that we have, that, for example, take sometimes like an hour to run, depending on the data sizes, we schedule them a bit earlier. But we have preset times now that we agreed with the client teams and the clients themselves, that all the data needs to be ready by around 9:30 o'clock in the morning, meaning we adjust our schedule depending on that. So our magic ETL that based on runs 8:15 in the morning, that gives us enough time to run all the processing through Snowflake, send the data back into Domo, and load the dashboards. So we kind of like, once we agreed the date, the time, what we need, we kind of adjusted all the scheduling alongside as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, guys.
Great. Cheers.